Hello, friends. Our lives can be very unpredictable. So when we plan for the future, we need to be prepared, for at any moment there might come a turning point which could change our entire life. No one is immune to failures, crises, sudden pandemics, or even war. But life wouldn't be full if every person lived trying to calculate every possible risk and preparing for every possible scenario. This story happened to an old woman and shows well how life can interfere and turn even a joyful event, which she spent months preparing for, into a painful game of what will happen next. One summer morning, an American woman, Kathy Patton, was playing golf when suddenly her pregnant daughter Pfeiffer called her. The woman picked up the phone and heard the exciting news on the other end of the line. Her daughter was in labor. Kathy has always been a calm person, but anything that concerned her daughter caused a storm of emotions. So the anticipation of an important event and concern for her loved one completely filled Kathy's mind. Having ordered a taxi, Patton rushed to the hospital. It seemed to her that time was dragging on and she simply wouldn't get there in time. In order to calm down a bit, the woman took her pills, but her thoughts were already in the hospital room next to her daughter. She was getting more excited by the second. Kathy doesn't remember how she got from the taxi to the right floor, but on her way there, she started feeling unwell. The woman sat down on a chair in the hall. Her breathing quickened, and her vision went blurry. A strong pain in her chest paralyzed the woman, and it seemed that everything around her consisted only of the unpleasant sensations. Patton was having a heart attack. Fortunately, one of the doctors noticed that something was wrong with the woman and took her to the emergency room. Kathy was given CPR and an oxygen mask, but despite the doctor's best efforts, there was no effect. Kathy didn't have a heartbeat. She was in a state of clinical death for 45 minutes. While Pfeiffer was waiting for her mother and getting ready for childbirth in another room, Kathy had already passed away. Well, the daughter, of course, didn't know that yet. Of course, the daughter soon started asking the doctors where her mother was and whether they could try calling her again, because she definitely had to be there. The doctor who was supposed to deliver the patient's baby had already been informed about what was happening with Kathy in the emergency room. Thus, he began to reassure Pfeiffer, trying to convince her that she would be able to see her relatives after she gave birth and show them the baby. However, the woman felt that the doctor wasn't being entirely honest and started suspecting that something was wrong. Of course, getting agitated is rather dangerous in such a state, so the woman's condition started to deteriorate quickly. It got to the point that the doctors had to decide on performing an emergency C-section. Thus, the two women were in different parts of the hospital, and both of them were in mortal danger. All one could hope for in that situation was the maternal connection, that somehow everything would work out, and then a real miracle actually happened. Just as Pfeiffer went into surgery, her mother suddenly came back to life. The doctors had never seen anything like that before. 45 minutes without any signs of life, and then the woman opens her eyes. She was still unable to move, but Kathy said that at that very moment her granddaughter was being born. How she could have possibly have known that still remains a mystery. Moreover, the woman begged the doctors to take her to her daughter. They agreed to move her to her daughter's room. A while later, Kathy got to see her daughter and granddaughter, who was given the beautiful name Alora. As the doctors would later say, they often saw touching scenes at the hospital, but that was definitely the most emotional family reunion. The little newborn girl could have lost both her mother and grandmother at once. But it all worked out, and now she would be loved by the two kindest hearts. Dr. Dove Frankel, who saved Kathy, was truly shocked by what had happened. You showed us the true meaning of life when you opened your eyes. That's what it means to never give up, the doctor said. This touching and somewhat worrisome story shows us that we don't always have control of the difficulties that occur in our lives, and it is mainly our will, determination, and inner core that can pull us out of the terrible situations. Thus, playing golf one morning, the woman ended up looking death in the eyes, but then she demonstrated the incredible will to live for the sake of her children. By the way, Kathy became a grandmother for the 8th time that day. Friends, how do you feel about this story of the woman's resurrection during the birth of her granddaughter? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all for today. Rate the video if you liked it, and see you soon. Bye.